Any petition? Leader of the Senate.
Yeah, point of orders.
Point of order, distinguished Senator Odende.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Manuel Memga Odende. I represent Benue Northeast Senatorial District. My point of order is coming under Order 41 and 51. Order 41 sub 1 said, matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of today's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow a claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. And Order 51 said notice shall be dispensed with in case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators. Lord, the matter I have is very urgent because my people are under siege. As I talk to you, they are attacking them in all fronts. And it's unabated. So I'm coming under matter of urgent public importance so that the Senate allow me to let the matter before the Senate to take a decision.
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Odende approached me and showed me some very gruesome pictures of what is going on, carnage, killings of families, and all that. And he said he wishes to bring it up as a matter of urgent importance as it is, because the community is under siege. Many have been killed, they don't know the number, and it is going on unabated. So those who are in support of the fact that it should be allowed to proceed, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed with the matter of urgent importance.
Thank you. Motion on the continued killing by suspected terrorists, parading assessment, and increasing insecurity in Kwande, Ukum, Logo, and Kasnala local government areas in Benue Northeast Senatorial District of Benue State, brought under matters of urgent public importance, pursuant to Orders 41 and 51 of the Senate Standing Rules. The Senate, aware with deepest sadness that no fewer than 50% have been killed in fresh attacks on several communities in Kwande, Ukum, Logo, and Kasnala local government areas of Benue State by terrorists parading as headsmen. Further aware that the affected communities, some of which were attacked as recently as yesterday, and which attack are ongoing, include Chulu Ward, Boyko Ward, Kunda Ward, Ubam Ward, Uyam Ward in the Kum local government area, and Udeku, Yaiwa, Nihimba, Tomata, Amenakwa, Yase, and Agura, all in Kwande local government in Benue Northeast Senatorial District. Saddened that the residents of the villages and communities now find themselves targeted on daily basis by heavily armed terrorists. And the toll continues to be staggering as they bear the brunt, with reports of marauders butchering several villages, leaving many homes completely burnt down, and numerous residents still missing, while the perpetrators, however, remain elusive and have not been apprehended. Further saddened that this pathetic situation and development has inflicted untold hardship on women, children, and elderly, who are trekking long distances in search of safe haven and awaiting intervention of security operatives. Concerned that this situation, in addition to the loss of lives and property, has already impacted negatively on the economic lives of the people, and the resultant effect of shortages of farm produce is one of the reasons for astronomical rise in prices of agricultural produce and inflation in the country. Further concerned that despite public outcry, and previous resolutions of the National Assembly as regards the criminal activities of these terrorists, there seems to be no visible action on the part of government to curtail, abate, or totally stop the criminal activities of these criminals. Convinced that the utmost concern of and the purpose of government is the security and safety of lives and properties in line with Section 14, subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, there's need to act urgently. Accordingly, resolves to urge the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Inspector General of Police, and heads of other security agencies to, as a matter of urgency, deploy security personnel to address the continuing and ongoing attacks by armed terrorists, parading assessment on communities in Kwande, Ukum, Logo, and Kasnara local government areas of Benue State, with a view to flushing out the terrorists and stop the killing and restore normalcy to the affected communities. Heighten surveillance and invest in surveillance technology and equipment to detect and prevent future attacks. Review the security architecture in the area to foster continuous attacks. Request the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to immediately mobilize relief materials to the people displaced by these recent attacks in Kwande, Ukum, Logo, and Kasnara local government areas of Benue State. Mandate the relevant committees of the Senate to ensure compliance and request the Senate to observe a minute silence in honor of the deceased person. I so move.
Dismissed Senator Abamoro.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Abamoro. I represent the good people of the Benue South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to second this motion, which is timeously moved by my colleague and brother from the Benue Northeast as to the heinous crime of these terrorists and bandits laying siege in virtually all our communities. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is a little worrisome that this issue of insecurity, especially by armed bandits, has come on this floor on several occasions, one of which was even the recent one that was moved by about 5 senators as it affects the various communities in these various constituencies, which occasioned the invitation of security chiefs and the Inspector General of Police in particular to address the Senate on measures that have been taken to curb the incessant killing and attacks on our people. Mr. President, I think the time has come because the refrains are the same all the time. The demands are the same all the time. All security chiefs, all NEMA, and all that. And it has not yielded the desired results. I think, Mr. President, that we must become more proactive in these matters, particularly the Committee on Compliance, because the resolutions that the Senate has passed here concerned about the happenings in our constituencies have not been complied with in some instances. And so it has become very, very necessary now that these actions are taken immediately because it affects virtually all communities in Nigeria. If you combine the effect of the killings and the incessant attacks with the level of food insecurity that is unfolding, I think it's only a matter of time, Mr. President, that Nigerians will begin to ask questions because they don't even know the difference between who is supposed to be acting here or there. They hold the Senate and elected representatives responsible for these actions. And so, sir, I think that in the 9th Senate, a committee, another committee was set up to review the security architecture of Nigeria, which was done, unfortunately. And so sad, it was not implemented. The recommendations were not implemented. Some of these bandits hide out in forests in our various communities, like in Agatu, like I said that time. they have forests and they have locations. So the mystery of it is that why have we not been able to pick them out of this forest? This time around to honestly ask our compliance committee to ensure that resolutions passed here in the interest of our people are complied with and given effect, so that our people will have confidence that the Senate elected by them to represent them show concern for their lives. And in addition, sir, Mr. President, various state governors have security operatives. In my state, we have Operation Zenda, which was specifically set out to tackle these problems. Unfortunately, I think not much action is coming from these security outfits. So we must also urge the governments of various states to also be concerned about what's happening. Because we all know security is everybody's business. It's not just about the federal government. It's about all levels of government. And if they combine effectively with the federal government, I think this insecurity and the killing of our people that we are talking about will become a thing of the past. I so submit, Mr. President.
Yes, distinguished Senator Ositangu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ositangu, Enugu West. Mr. President, I tend to support most of the things the minority leader said, but I will go a little bit, deviate a little bit. In the 10th Senate, motions upon motions have been moved about insecurity. The same prayers urge military, urge police, and all that. And he just said that in almost all the bushes in Benue, they have taken over. But the area I'm trying to argue from is, what are they actually looking for in those bushes? Is military solution the best solution to this insecurity in Benue State? Even defense headquarters have said that military solution may not be the solution to the insecurity in Benue. Every day, we see numbers, 10 killed, 20 killed, 40 killed, 50 killed, and the same prayers are always military solution. We haven't come to ask ourselves if there could be a political solution, if there could be a cultural solution in any form that will stop this insecurity. Those bandits in the bush in Benue State, what are they looking for? I think it is time that stakeholders' involvement is sought. Let the people sit down and ask themselves direct questions to know the root cause of this insecurity. If the defense headquarters, who we are urging to solve this problem, keeps telling us that military solution is not the best, if you go online and read it, the defense headquarters, the police have always said that it is not all about military solution. So if we continue, maybe for the 15th time, move motion, direct it to the military, direct it to the police, then, as he said, go to the compliance to know if the police are deploying people. And they are telling us that military solution is not the best. It means that we will continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, which is not possible. We cannot do the same thing and get a different result. Let us sit down and get stakeholders' involvement to sit and find out the solution to the problem without just talking about military and using force to stop them. I'm sure minority leader will agree with me that when stakeholders, the state, the local government, the communities, traditional rulers, sit down to really talk about the problem of this insecurity, especially in the River State and Plateau, that we could find a solution and just continue to talk about military solution, which has not yielded the desired result. I submit, Mr. President.
You want to say,
Well, distinguished Senator Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Engineer Abaribe, Abia South. Mr. President, I just want to ask a simple question, and I will leave the question for the Senate to answer. If you continue to do the same thing over and over again, and you do not get, you get the same answer, nothing being done, Why do we have to continue to do the same thing? It's a question for the Senate.
Distinguished Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mohammed Adam Alero is my name. Mr. President, not long ago, we had a closed door session with all the service chiefs here in this chamber. And I could recall very well that we reached some resolutions, unanimous resolution among ourselves, both the Senate and the service chiefs. Mr. President, I think we have a problem. We did not follow up to ensure that those resolutions are properly implemented. We have allocated huge sums of money to the security agents. It is there in the 2022 appropriation, it's there in the 23 appropriation, now in the 24 appropriation act. Humongous amount of money have been allocated. We have not done our constitutional oversight responsibility to ensure that that money is judiciously utilized. And that's why we keep on having these problems all over. Until we resolve to do what is required of us to do constitutionally, we shouldn't be coming here to be raising motion upon motion every day. This community is attacked, that community is attacked. What have we done as a Senate, as members of the National Assembly, as the third arm of government, to really tame the tide of this insecurity? Until we do our responsibility, Mr. President, we should not be crying for wolves when there is none at the site. We should be proactive. We have committee on Navy, we have committee on Army, we have committee on Defense, we have committee on Air Force. What have they been doing? They should be reporting to the Senate what has happened. We even have committee on police. We have committee on, what do you call it, security and intelligence. The colossal amount of money has been allocated. We don't go out to check whether this money has been utilized. We only come here to be crying. Why? Mr. President, I myself would not raise any motion regarding insecurity unless if all of us are committed in doing what is right. Mr. President, I rest my case. Thank you.
The distinguished Senator Sadiq.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Sulaiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North. Mr. President, we've gone around this story for years, as far as I've been here. And I've always said, and I repeat again, that the first solution to our problems of insecurity in this country is actually to go back to where the problems exist. That's in the rural communities, in those communities where these problems exist. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, because of lack of trust between citizens and government and other platforms of leadership in this country, nobody is committed to stand for the community, to stand for the country against those who are terrorizing us. In fact, most of these people are complicit, they are informants, they assist them. What do we have to do, Mr. President? We need to go back to that basis. Our communities should be empowered at the local government level in terms of resources and trust. Our traditional institutions and leaders in all the communities who are on ground need to be strengthened and supported and given confidence. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, if our communities who bear this brunt are not supported and strengthened, they are not given the required confidence and trust from even our security agencies, be it the police and military, that they can trust them, they will not help themselves and help the country. Unfortunately, they are still the first victims, and yet some people in those communities help those who are attacking those communities. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, our military officers, policemen, they are still citizens and Nigerians. We release money, yes, like Senator Elere has said, how much are we really oversighting this? That is an area we need to look at deeply. But that alone will not solve the problem. The real problem lies with the people. It's only the people that can build confidence in the system, in themselves, and we rise up together and say enough is enough. While government provide the required environment, the required trust, and required resources for us to be able to root these people out. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Lawan, Ahmed Lawan, let me briefly recap that the motion of urgent national importance brought by distinguished Senator Odende has to do with the killing of over 50 people in fresh attacks on several communities in Kwande, Ogum, Logo, Kasinala, local government areas of Benue State by terrorists, according to the motion, parading themselves as herdsmen. That the attacks, even yesterday, he showed me pictures of families who have already been slaughtered, and he said the attacks are ongoing at the moment as we are speaking now. So then distinguished Senator Abaribe said whether we have found out from our defense chiefs what has changed since the last time we had over 10 hours closed-door meeting with them. So I don't know whether you have a word of comfort for the Senate as chairman of defense.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ahmed Lawan, I represent Yobe North. Mr. President, let me first of all condole those families that have lost loved ones and sympathize with our colleagues in whose senatorial districts or district these killings took place. Mr. President, I recall that one of the resolutions taken in that series of meetings that we undertook was for the leadership of the Senate to meet with Mr. President. Because we thought that the President, Commander-in-Chief, needs to know our perspectives, our understanding of the issues on the insecurity in the country. But of course, defense-related committees will still continue to do their oversight. But one thing is very clear, Mr. President. This Senate, and indeed the National Assembly, since I know it, has always given our defense and security outfits a lot of attention and a lot of resources. Because we believe that within the constraints of our resources, we must do something to improve on funding. But that is not to say that we are solving the problem because of giving more resources. We need, Mr. President, to insist on value for money. You get more resources, we want to see better security environment. Otherwise, when we have no KPIs, the resources may simply be filtered or frittered away. So I believe that going forward, we should continue with our oversights, but Mr. President, our services, the services in the armed forces and other security agencies must always account for the resources we give them. The 8th Senate, where our Senate leader, the 9th Senate, where our Senate president, all had National Summit on Security. And we had voluminous, very rich reports, which we forwarded to the presidency at that time. And we had a series of engagements at leadership level. And I believe that we should go back, look at those reports, Mr. President. Our leadership should engage Mr. President and come up with those resolutions that we passed here in this Senate to say these are the ways we feel. Of course, our citizens, some of them will say they would like to defend themselves. But Mr. President, what is the most important purpose of government? It means we will shy away from our responsibility. Because the most important purpose of any government is security, even welfare is second. So we need to insist on getting better outcomes from our security agencies. So I believe that every one of us here, whether affected now or not, has some maybe experiences before, some even personal experiences of insecurity. So we should insist on getting improvements, and of course constitutional review is coming. I don't know what we can do better, but the security architecture in Nigeria today has failed woefully. And we have said this many times, even in the previous assemblies, that this thing is not working. And we have to find something that works. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Let me thank you for your insights. As a matter of fact, I think you've almost concluded the debate. The clerk of the Senate exhumed the reports that were sent to Mr. President, coupled with the report, the leader of the Senate, that we have here, based on our own motions and observations, so that we can seek audience with Mr. President to see whether we can provide solutions, suggestions to bring this to an end. So, distinguished Senator Ndume, I see you looking at your iPad and looking at and raising your hand. Is there anything additional? Otherwise, we go to the prayers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing much to add, but emphasis. The former Senate President has said it all, and you also concluded with what I had wanted to add, that is to see Mr. President. Having said that, Mr. President, this issue of security, we can't continue to be coming here every day or at least every week to stand up, because this is the last thing you say now. Let's observe 1 minute silence, and that's it. And then next week, we'll have something like that or more than that. Then you say you condemn, you observe 1 minute silence. You have said it now. The leadership of both houses of the National Assembly, on behalf of our colleagues, need to sit down with Mr. President, who is the Commander-in-Chief. Our securities have the capacity. All they need, as I said, is team. Training, equipment, motivation is what they need. But they can do it. Now, as the Senate President said, he headed, when he was a Senate leader, he headed 3 committees, 3, and made far-reaching decisions. You were part of the Saraki's Senate as a minority leader.
I was part of Nigerian Senate, not Saraki Senate.
Okay. So you see, we have started arguing. Some say this is Apabio Senate.
No. This is the Nigerian Senate. If you say I was part of Saraki Senate, it means I was part of those who paid 40% on constituency project and 60% has not been paid to you today. I don't want to be part of that.
In the ruling party. Okay, let's not deviate from that. But I'm glad, and we should be as quick as possible. Fortunately, Mr. President, I have confidence in the leadership and the renewed hope of Mr. President. All he needs is what you have now said. And he's very responsive. I'm sure he will do that. Now, coming back to like kidnapping, and it depends on the Senate, the commander-in-chief. I remember in the history of this country when we started witnessing armed robbery, there was one Anini from Delta, and he was declared wanted. Edo? Edo Delta is.
So please get the state right. Get the state right. Was it Edo or Delta? I think it was Edo.
They say he's from Old Bende State, but born in Akwa Ibom. It's the leader that told me.
You see, any bad person that migrates from Ekiti to visit South will be said to be from South. No. Because if you check very well, that Aneni must have been from Ekiti.
So, Mr. President, let me conclude. Mr. President, Cow, order. Senator Cow. Oh, Katu. No, Dr. Cow. No, he looks like you from the back. Sir, I'm glad you made that final recommendation, and we should do it as quick as possible. And as you directed the clerk, we should have all the reports and then give it to the clerk again to do executive summary of those reports so that we don't go to the president with bulky documents, because we want him to look at it and implement the far-reaching recommendations. Having said that, I conclude by saying that the sponsor of the motion have done his own as a representative of the people. The prayers, as usual, is normally the same. But what we concluded now is most important, to get a team from the Senate and the House of Rep to get audience with the President in the presence of the service chiefs so that we take a decision that will yield result. And that is what our people want. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, I think we have done justice to this motion, and so we go straight to the prayers. Prayer 1. Urge the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, the Inspector General of Police, and heads of other security agencies to, as a matter of urgency, 1. A1, A Roman figure 1, deploy security personnel to address the continuing and ongoing attacks by armed terrorists parading themselves as herdsmen on communities in Kwande, Ogum, Logo, Kasinala local government areas of Benue State with a view to flushing out the terrorists, stopping the killings, and restoring normalcy to the affected communities. Those who are in support of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer A, Roman figure 2, heighten surveillance and invest in surveillance technology and equipment to detect and prevent future attacks. Those who are in support of this say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, review the security architecture in the area to forestall the continuous attacks. Those who are in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4. B. Request the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to immediately mobilize relief materials to the people displaced by these recent attacks in Kwande, Ugum, Logo, and Kasinala local government areas of Benue State. Those who are in support of prayer B say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer C, mandate the relevant committees of the Senate to ensure compliance with these resolutions. Those who are in support of this say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer D, request the Senate to observe a minute silence in honor of the deceased persons. Those who are in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The additional prayer, leader, based on the discussions, you move the additional prayer to mandate the leadership of both chambers of the National Assembly to pay a visit to Mr. President with a summarized version of all security-related committee reports, both in the 9th and the 10th Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I so move, just as enumerated, and 8 and 9. Yes. Right now we have, yes, and that would be in respect of both the 8th as well as the 9th assembly, and then the recommendations will also go as recommendation 8 and 9. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion or additional prayer by the Leader of the Senate that the leadership of the National Assembly should engage Mr. President to provide solutions to the continuous insecurity across the country. I so second.
Well, you almost, the most important thing is that you so second, not the other ones you were adding, because we are not talking about the whole country now. We are talking about a specific region in the North Central. You understand? We are not talking about Borno and others. So, but you so second. Those in support of the prayer as seconded, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me, on behalf of the Senate, thank distinguished Senator Udende for bringing this to the fore, and also to sympathize with the victims of these latest attacks that seems to be going on unabated. A situation where over 50 people are being killed in a day will not be pleasing to anybody, including even the leadership of the country. So now that you have brought this to the fore, I believe the service chiefs are listening, the commanders and all the other security chiefs engaged in keeping security in those areas, particularly in Benue State, are also listening. I also believe the governor of Benue State, whose primary responsibility is to use security votes to ensure the security of lives and properties in Benue State, is also listening. is a fact. The first line of thought is the government of Benue State. And as Senator then they brought it forward. I have not heard any comment from the government of Benue State. If 50 people are killed, or more than 50, and communities are being attacked, we will expect that the governor will either cry out or marshal out plans with the immediate security operatives within the Benue State to see what he can do before we start bringing the issue to the president. And I want to also assure you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, though he has not stayed long in office, is very concerned and supportive of the armed forces. And by the time the Senate meets with him, in conjunction with the House of Representatives, I believe that the resolutions that will come out with will benefit the entire country. It's a fact that, yes, since his assumption of duties, insecurity has abated. Major attacks are no longer taking place, but this one is just an aberration, and it will be brought to an end. Senator Odende, I assure the good people of the areas affected that this matter is now before the floor of the Senate and that we are taking serious actions. We work with the presidency to ensure that normalcy is restored in those areas, and particularly the victims are also catered for. So, gentlemen, can we now rise to observe 1 minute silence to honor the souls of the departed? May the souls of our brothers and sisters and our children, numbering over 50, killed in fresh attacks on communities in Kwande, Ugum, Logo, Kasinala, local government areas of Benue State by terrorists, rest in perfect peace. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Sulaiman Omar Sadiq on the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration Establishment Bill 2024, SB 267. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration Establishment Bill 2024, SB 267, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration Establishment Act 2024, SB 267, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in my name on the Extradition Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 377. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Extradition Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 377, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Extradition Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 377, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Emmanuel Udende Menga on the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 379. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 379, first reading.
Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 379, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Jibril Issa on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 380. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 380, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 380, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Ali Ndume on the Federal College of Education, Goza, Establishment Bill 2024, SB 381. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, Goza, Establishment Bill 2024, SB 381, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal College of Education, Goza Establishment Bill 2024, SB 381, first reading taken. Just before I call on the Senate leader, distinguished Senator Odende, I believe strongly that you should also convey the condolences of the Senate to the families, the government, and the people of Benue State. It's very important so that we share the pains with them. I'm still disturbed by the kind of pictures you showed me this morning. You could have just mentioned it without showing me pictures. So I'm still disturbed by it. So extend the condolences of the Senate to the governor and the good people of Benue State. And I think it will not be enough for us to visit only the president. We may have to send a small delegation to also visit the governor of Benue State so we can hear from him firsthand some of the problems that he may be facing and the efforts he's making also at the subnational level. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition. In respect of a petition from Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian against the University of Abuja for alleged wrongful accusation, detention, and rustication. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Emmanuel Neda Bennett to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Distinguished Senator Emmanuel Nether.
Mr. President, is Imaswe Neda. Distinguished colleagues, I stand to move a motion to present to the House, to the chambers, the report of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petition in respect of a petition from Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian against the University of Abuja for alleged wrongful accusation, detention, and rustification. If it pleases the chambers and the Senate President, may I proceed to lay the report.
You can proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria may recall that at its plenary section on Thursday, 27th July 2023, distinguished Senator Victor Ume, Anambra Central, in line with one of the three principal rules of the legislature, representation rules in accordance with Order 40, Standing Orders of the Senate 2023 as amended, and drew the attention of the Senate to a petition from one of his constituents, Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian, against the University of Abuja for alleged wrongful accusation, detention, and rustification, where he urged the Senate to look into the matter and direct the University of Abuja to reinstate him to enable him conclude his academic program and proceed on National Youth Service. Accordingly, distinguished colleagues, pursuant to Order 40, Rule 3 of the Standard Orders, the Senate referred the petition to the Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions for detailed investigation and further legislative action. The petition was referred to the committee via the Senate Votes and Proceedings number 14 of Thursday, the 27th of July, 2023. Following the Senate resolution and
He sent the email to his foundation. To him.
Yeah, not going to.
This is his charitable.
as amended, the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended, the University of Abuja Act, the principles of equity, fairness, and justice. The committee further resolved to invite the following parties to a public hearing on the matter with a view to unearth the truth and determine the veracity of the claims to enable it to make appropriate recommendations to the Senate. 1. The petitioner, Mr. Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian. 2. The respondent, the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja. The committee received written and oral submission from Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian and oral representation from the management of the University of Abuja as follows. Petitioner Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian. His presentation, Igwe Cyprian stated as follows, that He was a final year student of the Department of Sociology of the University of Abuja with matriculation number 18294-290. 2, that he was wrongfully accused of fabricating and circulating false information and press releases on social media against the university regarding the increment in fees payable to the student of the university. 3, that on the 26th May 2023, he was arrested and detained by the head of intelligence unit on the instruction of the university authorities and held incommunicado for 9 hours with his phone confiscated. 4, that he was falsely accused of organizing a protest and disturbing the peace of the institution, which is inimical to his image. 5, that he was threatened with severe punishment if he did not provide the names of the students that are planning to embark on a protest. 6, that he was coerced by the head of intelligence unit of the university to admit to all the wrongdoing accusations against him, which he had no knowledge of. 7, that in furtherance of the abuse meted out to him, he was not only issued with a rustication letter by the university authority on 26 May 2023, but was also barred from accessing the University of Abuja Students Portal, and that will affect his graduation and mobilization into the 2023 National Youth Service Corps program, currently ongoing, thereby leaving him behind his classmates. He prayed that the Senate should look into the matter and, among other things, direct the management of the University of Abuja to recall him back to the university as a bona fide student of the institution, restore his full access to the University Students Portal, and by extension, his academic records to enable him participate in the forthcoming National Youth Service Scheme. In his oral presentation before the committee, the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Aisha Sani Meikudi, stated as follows, that 1, that the petitioner, Mr. Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian, was a 400 level student of the University of Abuja. 2, that he was alleged to have created a WhatsApp group and made himself the only administrator of the group, through which he was spreading false information against the university, inciting other students, and planning protests against the institution with regards to payment and of service fees payable in the university, which the university authority viewed as being capable of jeopardizing the peaceful and smooth conduct of academic activities in the university at a breach of the university matriculation oath. 3, the university authority is empowered by the University of Abuja Act to review service charge payable by students to reflect the economic reality of the time. 4, that preliminary investigation into the matter revealed that Mr. Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian fabricated and circulated the false information against the university. 5, that he was sent on suspension justification, but was not made to appear before students' disciplinary committee because of the intervention of some groups such as the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, who pleaded with the university management to temper justice with mercy. 6, that based on the intervention of National Association of Nigerian Students, the university urged Mr. Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian to apologize to the university to enable the lifting of his suspension from the university. 7, that the academic records of the petitioner was not tampered with as he was speculating. 8, that he has completed all his academic exams and works with the school, and as soon as the management of the university receives his letter of apology, he will be recalled unconditionally and recommended for mobilization into the 2023 National Youth Service Corps program. Along with his mates, and his portal will be restored. Our observation and finding. After careful studying of the submission and listening to the presentation made by Mr. Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian, the petitioner, and the representative of the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, Professor Aisha Sani Meikudi, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, the committee has observed as follows. 1. That Mr. Igwe Chukwemeka Cyprian, the petitioner, was a final year student of the Department of Sociology of the University of Abuja with matriculation number 18294-290, and was alleged to have spread false and inciting information through his social media handles against the university on the payment of fees, which University of Abuja authority viewed as being capable of jeopardizing the peaceful and smooth conduct of academic activities and the breach of the university matriculation oath. 2. The preliminary investigation by the University of Abuja into the matter revealed that the inciting information against it emanated from a WhatsApp group he created, but he was not made to appear before the Students' Disciplinary Committee to exonerate himself from the allegations. 3. That Mr. Igwe Chukwemeka Cyprian was not made to face the Students' Disciplinary Committee because of the intervention of the National University Students Association Act. 4. That the University of Abuja did not increase the tuition fees as claimed by the petitioner in the WhatsApp group. However, they reviewed the service charge payable by students as provided by the University of Abuja Act. 5. That Mr. Igwe Chukwemeka Cyprian was suspended from the university, but the National Association of Nigerian Students intervened on the matter for its peaceful resolution and urged the petitioner to apologize to the university for them to reinstate him and restore his access to the university portal. 6. That the University of Abuja management assured the committee that as soon as they received the letter of apology from Mr. Igwe Chukwemeka Cyprian, they would lift his suspension from the university, restore his access to the university portal, and recommend him for mobilization into the 2023 National Youth Service Course Program, since he has passed all his exams and his results are not tampered with as he alleged. And 7. That based on the directives of the committee to the petitioner to tender an apology to the university as a condition for his reinstatement as assured by the Vice Chancellor of the university, Mr. Igwe wrote a letter of apology dated 23rd March 2023, which was acknowledged by the university, where he asked for forgiveness of whatever offenses against the university. He appealed to them to reinstate him, restore his access to students' portal, and recommend him for mobilization into the 23 National Youth Service Corps program. Our recommendations. In view of the finding above, the committee hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do direct the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, to reinstate Mr. Igwe Chukwemeka Cyprian as a bona fide student of the university, restore his access to the university's students' portal, and recommend him for mobilization into the 2023 National Youth Service Corps program in fulfillment of the assurance given to the committee by the university, having received a written apology letter from Mr. Igwe Chukwemeka Cyprian on the 3rd of November 2023. That the Senate do commend the Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja for responding to the invitation of the committee and for quick resolution of the matter. And 3, that the Senate do direct its committee on compliance to ensure that the resolution of the Senate in this matter is complied with. Conclusion. In conclusion, Your Excellency, Mr. President, my most distinguished and respected colleagues, on behalf of myself and the entire membership of the Standing Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition, I wish to appreciate the leadership and members of these distinguished chambers for the opportunity given to us to serve Nigeria in this capacity. I so submit.
Senator Karimi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent Kogi West. I stand to second the motion as moved for the adoption of the report of the committee. Thank you, sir.
So is there anybody who would like to comment on this report? Yes, distinguished Senator Idiot.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleagues, I want to commend the committee for doing a thorough job by ensuring that not only the view of the complainant was heard, but also to have invited the university to present their own position on the matter. As much as I want to agree, however, with the committee on their recommendation to reinstate Mr. Ndubusi, I want to also suggest that it is necessary to put a caveat in the letter to say that such acts will not be tolerated in the future. Because as he's going back to the university, he's going to spend, the least he can do is to do 2 semesters in the university, maybe either 1 or 2 semesters in the university. Therefore, he should be warned as well not to embark on this type of activities or this kind of acts in the future, such to protect his stay in the university. I submit it. Thank you.
So, distinguished colleagues, can we go straight to the recommendations? That the Senate do direct the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, to reinstate Mr. Igwe Chukwu Emeka Cyprian as a bona fide student of the university, restore his access to the university students portal, and recommend him for mobilization into the 2023 National Youth Service Corps NYSC program in fulfillment of the assurance given to the committee by the university. Having received a written apology letter from Mr. Igwe Chukwuemeka Cyprian, the petitioner, on the 23rd day of November 2023. Those in support of this recommendation say aye. Amendment. Yes, Senator Burrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that the recommendation 1 should actually be for the Senate to urge the Vice Chancellor and not direct, because the university had agreed already that they will reinstate him. They didn't subject him to disciplinary action. They didn't do anything to affect his records and the rest of them. And as an autonomous institution, I think the Senate will urge them to reinstate him and not direct.
Any seconder to the amendment? Any seconder to the amendment? No seconder. So those who are in support of recommendation 1, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2, that the Senate do commend the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, for responding to the invitation of the Senate and for quick resolution of the matter. Those in support of recommendation 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 3, that the Senate do direct its Committee on Compliance, on legislative compliance, to ensure that the resolutions of the Senate in this regard are complied with. Those in support of recommendation 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, those in support that the first schedule to clause 3, part A, remain as amended, remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, those in support that the explanatory memorandum as amended remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, approach the chair. Distinguished colleagues, look at page 5, paragraph 8. Page 5, paragraph 8. Just slight grammatical correction. Last line. A member of the governing council shall hold office for 4 years, provided always that a person, it should be provided always that a person so appointed, not provided always that a person appoints. Please check it. Leader, can you move to correct that part? Move a motion to correct it. 5-8. 5, last line. Page 5, last line. 5, no, I said page 5. That 8-4. Page 5, 8-4. Read it out first and then move a motion to correct it.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that paragraph of section 8, paragraph 4 of the bill be corrected or amended, as to say, be amended to read that a member of the governing council shall hold office for 4 years, provided always that a person appointed. Appointed to fill any vacancy. Because it would have been so appointed, Mr. Chairman, if this had been slated earlier and we are just referring to it as so appointed. But here is a continuing statement that a person appointed to fill any vacancy created by the death, resignation, or removal of any member of the governing council shall only hold office until the period in which the predecessor would have held office. Yes. Shall only hold office for the residue of the tenure, for the residue of the tenure or the tenure of his predecessor. Yes. Yes. I don't know if the Secretariat is comfortable.
You should have made that.
Chairman, you got that?
You should have.
Okay.
You should have made that amendment the way you want and then give it to the leader.
No, well, I believe the Secretariat has captured it. Thank you.
Ask the leader to move the motion so that we can amend it. Because I can't amend it from here on my own. So the chief whip. So what we are saying is that the person appointed to conclude the tenure of the predecessor. Yes. No, the tenure of the predecessor. The predecessor shall only hold office for the residue of the term. So it stops at the residue of the term of the predecessor, because if he comes in and thinks he's having a new tenure, it means he will be starting afresh. So if anybody that is appointed to fill the vacancy created by death or resignation shall only hold office for the remainder of the term of the predecessor. So, clerk, you know what to draft, huh? So he is only going to move a motion for the correction, and then will be seconded by minority leader. Then we move on. So. Well, no, Senator Ashiru, let him finish. The essence of it is to avoid ambiguity. not the same thing. In drafting, legislative balance is different. We are saying it's a bit windy. Do you Senator Sani Musa?
Your Excellency, sorry, I'm bringing you back to section 5 on page 3. Oh, I thought we're in 5 now. Oh, okay.
let us finish with the rephrasing of that aspect of concluding the tenure of the predecessor. That shall be for the residue of the tenure of the predecessor. I also want you to take a look at the 17.1 that says the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House may give to the we are coming to that. But this one says may give to the Director General. Section, just look at page 9. That last sentence. The President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives may give to the Director General directives of a general nature with regards to the performance of his function under this act. You see, that Senator Alero, that one is a way of divide and rule. You understand? If somebody is closer to the Senate President, it means he will take directives from Senate President and ignore the Speaker. And then if he's closer to the Speaker, he will take directives from it should be a joint decision of the Senate President and the Speaker. It shouldn't be something that will, because the person can hide on the fact that I have approval from the Senate President or I have approval from the Speaker. No. Yes. But my opinion is that he can take directive from the Senate President, who will do so in consultation with the Speaker. You understand? Yes. The Senate President may give directives of a general nature in consultation with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, but not to say you can either take Senate President's directive or take Speaker's directive. This is a way of causing confusion in future. Thank you. Yes, point of order.
Mr. President, Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise under Order 8 sub 3 to move a motion that we do extend our time to enable us sit beyond 2 p.m. so that we'll have enough time to finish the proceedings of the day as contained on the order paper. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I second the motion that the Senate sits beyond 2 o'clock to enable us complete the items of the agenda. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this August Assembly extends the time of its sitting beyond 2 o'clock to exhaust the items on the order paper. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I'm rising to propose 2 amendments, and I will take them one after the other. My first amendment proposal is with respect to Section 13, or Clause 13, which has to do with amendment of Section 11 of the Principal Act. Mr. Chairman, it's Clause 13, Section 11, Sub 4. Sub 4 is a new paragraph, a new subsection just introduced. Currently, it's on page 7, distinguished sir. And the essence of this amendment is to be able to say that the person that will be, page 7, sir, clause 13. Page 7, clause 13. Page 7, clause 13. 13, 4. B4. The essence of this amendment, Mr. Chairman and distinguished colleagues, is to ensure that the person who will be eligible for appointment as executive secretary will be, one of the qualifications would be to have served as a member of either the Senate or the House of Reps, not just House of Reps. You know, Mr. Chairman. Currently, it reads, in the appointment of a person to the office of the Director General under subsection 1 of this section, the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall evenly rotate the appointment to all geopolitical zones and shall also ensure that such appointment is rotated between the Senate and the House of Reps. My amendment, to make it more specific, is to say that the Senate and President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives shall evenly rotate the appointment to all geopolitical zones and shall also ensure that such appointment is rotated between a former member of the Senate or the House of Representatives. That's my amendment. Okay. In the appointment of a person to the office of the Director General, under Section 1 of this section, the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall evenly rotate the appointment to all geopolitical zones and shall also ensure that such appointment is rotated between a former member of the Senate and the House of Representatives. That's my amendment.
I think what he's saying, I wanted to read differently, that the appointment should be limited to only former members of the House of Representatives or former members of the Senate, not necessarily geopolitical zones of House of Reps and Senate, because you can have a very good senator, so don't limit it to rotating between House of Reps and Senate, but just say that whoever is to be appointed must have served either in the House of Representatives or in the Senate. Must be, if you say National Assembly, sometimes it can be misleading. Just say must have been a former member of the House of Representatives or the Senate, which in law, sometimes people can interpret National Assembly to mean House of Reps. So I don't think there is no need to mention where the principal officers should pick the person from, but provided the person is a former House of Representatives member or a former serving senator. That way you can, rotation among geopolitical zones is accepted, but whoever is to be appointed must have served in the House of Representatives or must have served as a senator. Because you can have a situation whereby serious injustice is done to a colleague and you want to address that injustice or redress that injustice. And so the question of saying, oh, the person who was there before was House of Reps, don't tie your hand. Let it just be that whoever is appointed was a member in the House of Representatives or a member in the Senate. But geopolitical zoning is accepted. But the appointment should be a former senator or a former member of the House of Representatives. Did you hear what I said? A person to be appointed must have served in the House of Representatives or in the Senate. That's one. Not necessarily, that one does not need geopolitical zoning because you need somebody who is fit. But a geopolitical zone means that we can rotate the office amongst the geopolitical zones, but whoever is to be appointed must have served in the House of Representatives or in the Senate previously.
The provision, both in the Principal Act and as is written here, the provision is conjunctive, it's not disjunctive. One arm of the provision is that there must be geopolitical rotation. The other side of the proposal is that the person who is to be appointed must have served as a member of either the House or the Senate. So the two go together. It's not one or the other, it is both geopolitical rotation and previous membership of the House or the Senate.
What you are saying is different from limiting the appointment to geopolitical zone. What you are saying is that we should have geopolitical rotation. But the geopolitical rotation, you must not limit any particular geopolitical zone to either House of Reps or Senate. It should be to a competent hand from that geopolitical zone. Do you understand? No. What you are saying is that after the Senate, it will go to House of Reps. After the House of Reps, it will go to Senate. No. Let it be that there is geopolitical zoning, but in each geopolitical zone, whoever is to become the Director General must have served either in the House of Representatives or in the Senate. So that it means that if you find two competent people from one following the other, so long as they are not from the same geopolitical zone, they can serve. Ashiru, do you understand?
Excellency, I don't. I think we are encumbering
this position with too many things. One, we are stating that the person must be an ex-legislator. I think that position like this is more professionalized, and continuously, library science as a profession is evolving and improving every time. I don't see how we should, the condition of this position, I think that should not necessarily include being a legislator, an ex-legislator. And equally, I don't see what we are doing with political zone here and there on a minor appointment like this. Just like I think we should go for the best practice, and we should rather look for highly professionalized person.
Senator Nengi, as you are going to talk, bear in mind that this is one of the arms of the National Assembly. This is one of the arms of the National Assembly. And sometimes we have our colleagues who, for one reason or the other, are very capable, but they are not able to return. So if we go outside somebody who has not been in the legislature to go and appoint a director general, it does not make sense to us. So for you, let it be somebody who is used to and knows the requirement of legislation and knows what the senators will want or what the House of Representative members will want. Somebody that is well versed in legislative matters. So that is why we are appointing, and also it's a means of empowerment. You don't come to an arm of National Assembly and go and bring one professor who has been abusing politicians outside. So that's the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have answered the reservations raised by Asheru. We want the intention of this particular clause is for us to have a former member of the National Assembly, a senator or a House member who had the experience of being a member of the National Assembly. And sir, if you carefully listen to the amendment by the Senate leader, I think it's apt. That amendment is very apt because there is so much fear in the land. But when you have a bill and a clause that actually rotates position, that fear is being overtaken, because it's just a matter of time that your own zone will also have the opportunity. And we have vast, experienced, competent people all across Nigeria, regardless of the zone. But you have to put the zone here because it is imperative that we watch it. It is imperative that we follow it. It is imperative that we adopt it. The zoning there that is there is very apt, and you in your own explanation also, you allude to the fact that that zoning is also critical. In this particular clause, two things are critical: the zoning and the former member of the National Assembly, a senator or a former member. And I want you to discount what Ashiru has said. He is not even listening. It's in line with what SP is saying. What Ashiru is saying is just trying to dilute this particular clause.
This shows you that Ashiru was not serious in his submission because he has gotten himself totally distracted. Ashiru, you are hereby ruled out of order. Okay, so distinguished leader of the Senate. Distinguished leader of the Senate, as much as we respect women, we don't respect distraction. Can you conclude on that amendment so that it will be seconded for us to...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mohammed Sani Musa, Niger East. Just as the Deputy Majority Leader said, Office of Librarian is a professional job. Just like we have lawyers, we have accountants and all. So, wait. Director General, he is going to oversee the National Assembly Library. But allow me to exercise my own rights. Distinguished Senator Ningi, my leader, allow me. Chair, you should protect me, please. Mr. Chairman, if we say we are going to appoint DG for National Assembly Library, I'm not against either a former House of Representative member or a senator. But for me, it's the institution I want to look at. We want, if it is going to be a former member of National Assembly with experience, to manage it. Director General is the Chief Executive Officer. It's not a political office. This is my view. But if it's political, it's in an institution that needs somebody with relevant experiences.
Well, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, observations have been made regarding this proposed amendment, but let me just emphasize again for the purpose of I move that the amendment as proposed be accepted, which is section 13 subsection B4, and to read as follows: in the appointment of a person to the office of the Director General under subsection 1 of this section, the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall evenly rotate the appointment among all geopolitical zones, and shall also ensure that such appointment is rotated between former member of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Okay.
Well, now, appointments are not made by the Speaker and the Senate President. The appointments are made by the Governing Council. So in the appointment of the Director General, the Governing Council, not Senate President and Speaker, shall ensure that such appointments are rotated between the 6 geopolitical zones of the nation, full stop. And then you can create a proviso, provided that the Director General so appointed is a former member of the Senate or House of Representatives. Simpliciter. Simpliciter. So that captures it. So two lines. So in other words, that the Governing Council shall ensure the appointment of the Governing Council ensure the appointment of a Director General, provided that such appointments are rotated amongst between the 6 geopolitical zones of the nation, and a person so appointed is a former member of either the Senate or House of Representatives. You've captured it. The Governing Council shall ensure the appointment of a Director General, which appointment shall be rotated amongst the 6 geopolitical zones of the nation, provided that the person so appointed is either a senator or a former member of the House of Representatives. So take it one more time.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, the proposed amendments having been well spelled out by the chairman and the secretariat having also captured the essence as well as the cause and contents of the proposed amendment, I stand to move that it be so adopted. I so move.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I stand to second the motion as ably moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
What are you seconding? No, wait. Senator Ababoro, I want to know what they are seconding. So, what are you seconding? So, what you are seconding? Distinguished colleagues, section Senate leader, section 1. No. Yes. Section. But clause. So the section 11, clause B4 is amended to read that the governing council shall ensure the appointment of a director general, which position shall be rotated among the 6 geopolitical zones of the nation, provided that the person so appointed shall be a former member of the House of Representatives or a former senator with requisite qualifications. No, I think it should. Let's not. A person so appointed shall be a former senator or a former member of the House of Representatives. Full stop. So we have captured 2 things there. We have Senator Alero, Abamoro, Senator Abamoro, Senator Abamoro, Senator Abamoro. You seconded this one. That means that the person, the governing council shall appoint a director general. No. That qualification is only school set. That's what you require to be a president. That's what you require to be a director general. That's what you require to be a senator. That's what you require to be a governor. Just a school certificate. So we are saying that the appointment of a director general shall be done by the governing council, taking cognizance into the 6 geopolitical zones, rotating among the 6 geopolitical zones, provided a person so appointed shall be a former member of the National Assembly, Senate, or House of Representatives. Am I right? Full stop. And then that motion has been seconded. Those in support of the amendment as proposed by the second Senate leader and seconded by the minority leader say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Senator Sani Musa. You are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment proposal is on the amendment of Section 3. If you look at Section 3, it says section 3F, where it says monies to be derived from the sales of books and other memoranda and other monetized online contents, that is okay. Fee to be paid by users of the services, it's okay. But where I have problem is the section 2. It said, notwithstanding any other law to the contrary, there shall be paid to the resource center a levy of 0.05% of the total revenue generated in each quarter by the statutory corporations, government agencies listed in Part A of the first schedule of this bill. If you go to the schedule of this bill on page 11, you will see that we are talking about everything Nigeria, because these statutory corporations and GOEs are the ones that generate every revenue for this country. And I will recall that there was a time Agricultural Trust Fund bill came, and they requested for the same 0.05, and we rejected it here. So if we are taking 0.05 for library trust fund, national, not Nigerian library, National Assembly Library, I don't know which president will assent to this. So I want this to be expunged. Thank you, Your Excellency.
So you want that section to be expunged, and you want the proposed amendment to say that the funds of the corporation shall come from the appropriation from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation as appropriated, and or any other voluntary donation from any organization. You understand? Because you cannot, if for instance you have American Library wanting to donate, American Congressional Library wanting to donate to the Nigerian Library, you can't say no. So their funding shall come from appropriation fund, from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, or any other voluntary donation from any organization, full stop. So we expunge all this 0.5% and all these things here, because we can make a law to tie the hand of the President of the Federation. Am I right? So propose that amendment.
Mr. Chairman, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Mohammed Sani Musa, Niger East Senatorial District. I stand to propose an amendment to Section 3, subsection 2 of this bill to read that the funding, page 4, to read that notwithstanding any other law to the contrary, the funding of this resource center shall be from money appropriated and donations from willing donors. So any donation can be accepted. So moved. You can repress it for me, sir. I'm reading page 4.
So what is here is, notwithstanding any other law to the contrary, there shall be paid to the resource center a levy of 0. Total revenue in each quarter by the statutory corporations and all that. So the whole of this should be expunged. And what should be there is that the governing council, or that the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be funded through appropriation from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, or any other voluntary donation from any organization. Full stop. Huh? So, Section 3 should be expunged. So what we are saying is that section 2 should be that notwithstanding any other law to the contrary, that the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be funded through appropriation from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation or any voluntary grant or donation from any organization. No, three is not necessary now. 3 will not be necessary. Yes.
Mr. President, my name is Mustafa Habib. I think 3 is very necessary because it is limiting the donation to be accepted to legitimate bodies only, not any. Any can be anything. It may be from criminal organizations. But this section is limiting it to legitimate business. So I propose that it is retained, Mr. President. Thank you.
What you are saying is that it's not good for us to obtain donation from drug dealers. So you want to add a proviso that provided that such grants or donations come from genuine or legitimate businesses, legitimate businesses. I think that's what it is. And so, in other words, you have also foreclosed the idea of going for loan at a very high interest rate, isn't it? So I think that's all we are saying, that it shall be funded through appropriation from or through voluntary, get the word, voluntary donations or grant from organizations engaged in legitimate businesses. Engaged in legitimate businesses, full stop. Sonny, so you move that motion that in place of 2 and 3, that we should say that the funding of the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be from appropriation, shall be from appropriation through shall be from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation through appropriation, or any other voluntary grants or donation from organizations and persons engaged in legitimate businesses. No, the word legitimate business is important so that nobody, it is necessary. If Ashiro goes to make money that EFCC is looking for him, and he goes to dump it there, what happens? Huh? Yeah. Okay. So Wasiu and Wasiu, 2 of you can combine and rephrase.
Sir, how do you define legitimate business in this case? Most of the criteria you find where there is donation, nobody puts legitimate business there.
Yes. How do you define that? So, the section 3.
In lawmaking, you have been able to exclude. You have insulated the National Assembly Library and Resource Center from any illegal donation in lawmaking, because the Act only allows them to obtain donation from sources that are legitimate. So if somebody engages in any legitimate business and wants to go and donate, then the onus is on the person to prove that it was from a legitimate business, not huh? No, with this you don't need 3-3. No, what 3.3 is even very ambiguous, because it says that where donation is inconsistent with the objectives of the center. The objectives of the center is that it is a knowledge-based center. It will engage in even the same thing that Niels is doing. It will do workshops. It will do training. It will equip the place. It will ensure that the National Assembly is compliant. It will also be a research center. So when a donation comes, it is assumed that it is for the purposes so outlined. There is no need for you to put it here, because you cannot know which donation or grant is meant for your business. Anybody who knows that this is a library and resource center donates accordingly. You can't say we shall not accept the donation if the donation is inconsistent. Nobody will write a letter and say that this donation is inconsistent with the objectives of your resource center. No. Anybody who donates means that the donation must be for purposes of research or stock taking or restocking of the National Assembly library, or for research purposes, or for training and retraining of either the staff or National Assembly members. You understand? So that, I don't think that one is even necessary. I think the amendment we did in 2 has captured it. Senate Leader, what's your opinion?
Thank you so much, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Candidly, I feel the views as canvassed by the chairman, represent the opinion of many of us here. And I believe that one thing we should not do is to deny the resource center the opportunity in the future of taking advantage of corporate social responsibility benefits that might be extended from corporate Nigeria as well as from international funding partners. So we should not outlaw their ability to receive such benefits.
On the ground that they have to do investigation first.
Yes.
It's not their business.
It's not. Yes. Thank you.
Who moved the motion? Was it Senator Sani? That's okay. Go ahead. That the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be funded through the annual appropriation from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, or from donations or grants from interested organizations, international, local, or individuals. Full stop.
I, Muhammad Sani Musa, Niger East Senatorial District, wish to amend section 3.2 to read, notwithstanding any other law to the contrary, the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be funded through appropriation from the Consolidated Revenue Account of the Federation. And donations, donations and grants or gifts from and aids from any willing donor. And can I add CSR? That's donation already. That's true. Yes. Kigali. So I so moved, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, the amendment to section 2 has been met by distinguished Senator Sani Musa. 3.2, that we should rather say that, notwithstanding any law to the contrary, that the funding of the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be met through the annual appropriation from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation and or any donation, grants, aid, or any voluntary donation, grants, aid from any organization, persons or groups interested in the activities of the center. Huh? Yes, is there any person to second the amendment? Okay, this is Senator Alero. We'll come to you.
I, Muhammad Adamu Alero, wish to second the motion ably moved by Senator Sani Musa. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been made by Senator Sani Musa and seconded by Senator Alero. That
appointment, I think, is not in tandem with our existing practices. And so, Mr. President, I think that we should expunge Section 14(2) and Section 14(2) and Section 8(b).
Before somebody seconds it, he made an observation that one person cannot be allowed to employ all the staff of the center, that it should be the governing council that should be in charge of employment. Because the governing council is well composed of people from all the geopolitical zones in the country. So his observation was that if the job of the governing council is not just ratification, while the executive secretary is the person to appoint, to employ, that it would not be good. So the governing council should be allowed to employ staff for the center as and when necessary. And
Mr. President, I listened to Abba's reservation. When you say a director general, you are not specifically talking about one person. You are talking about the agency under him. There is nowhere, sir, in our administrative setup that a governing council appoints. They ratify. If you don't want the director general to do, then there is nowhere, anywhere in this country, that a governing council appoints. That's the issue. Somebody appoints, the governing council ratifies. If you don't want the DG to be saddled with appointment, just like the National Assembly here, the clerk of the National Assembly appoints on behalf of the National Assembly, then the board ratifies. Why do you have a board? Why do you? The question is, if you can answer me, why do you have a board that appoints in the administrative setup in this country? That's just, if they have, then I think maybe his suggestion will take the day. But if my thinking is, somebody appoints and they ratify.
No, just before you say something, let me explain. There's a difference between a green field and a brown field. This is a green field. There's no staff at all. It's just a new setup. So if it is a new setup, it will be good for the governing council to set up an employment committee that would collect and collate the CVs of people working with the director general. And by the time they are through, they bring it to the governing council for approval and ratification. But since it's a green field, if it's an existing organization, they already have directors, they have staff, they have cleaners, they have this. Governing council will only do the work of what? Ratification. But in this case, you are just starting. If you are starting and you give one individual,
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I think there's nothing wrong in this subsection Abamoro talked about. The Director General cannot employ alone. Usually we have management committee that is charged with the responsibility of running the center. And it is the management committee that employs. And then the governing council ratifies the employment. That is the conventional way of doing it anywhere we have the Director General. Thank you.
in this case, you don't have the management committee yet. You don't have management yet because it's a new organization. You only have Director General. So, no, they don't have. They don't have. And then I also believe that the National Assembly Service Commission can even second staff to them to commence. You understand? So, but when they have, maybe what we should rather say should be that the management of the National Assembly Library and Resource Center shall be responsible for recruitment of staff of the center, subject to the direction and ratification of the Governing Council. Yes. Okay. So what? We did. You did. Come, you move, there was a motion you did, extended the time beyond 2 o'clock.
No, there wasn't.
There was.
So we are supposed to.
There was. It was moved and taken. We have a record. Okay. Anybody who went out to pray or somebody who went out to eat cannot come back and tell us a different story. So both of you are ruled out of order. Anyway, let's conclude. So they come now. Listen to this before you say.
Listen from there.
Okay, go and listen before you say we did not discuss. So we are saying that the recruitment of staff for the center shall be done by a committee set up by the Governing Council, and shall be presented to a committee set up by the Governing Council, which shall be responsible for vetting, screening, and then presentation to the Governing Council for approval and ratification. Of course, the management in this case includes the executive, the Director General, and directors. So we assume that they are there. They are not there. No, they are not there yet.
What is provided here? If you look at section 14(1), it says, subject to the approval of the Governing Council, the Director General shall appoint for each directorate, either from the public or private sector, or may appoint either on transfer or secondment from the public service of the Federation or a state, such number of staff required for the effective discharge of the duties of the Resource Center under this Act.
What you do in that case is just replace the word Director General to Governing Council. That's all. So since we don't have directors yet, so it means that the Governing Council, Leader of the Senate, Section Senator Abamuro has moved that Section 14(1), where in place of the word Director General, we should put Governing Council. Delete Director General and insert Governing Council. that the governing council shall appoint directors and recruit staff, according to needs. So just read that part so that somebody can second.
Mr. Chairman, I had proposed that in place of the Director General making appointments of directors and staff, that there is the Governing Council that will make such appointments. And therefore, we will amend Section 14.1 to read Governing Council instead of Director General, and then delete Section 14B. Am I moving? I so move.
Any seconder?
Mr. President, sitting as chair, compelled by a sense of duty and the desire to have the minority leader for once have me second this motion. I stand to second the motion ably moved by him. I so second, Mr. President.
So section 14, 1 and 2 of page 9. So please give me a plain sheet. Come, Colonel, give me a plain sheet. So let him do what he has done for you so that the secretary can capture it very well. No, give it to him. So, in other words, where you see Director General, you insert Governing Council for now. You understand? In the recruitment of the directors and the staff of the center. Those in support of the amendment as moved by the minority leader and in a reverse order, seconded by the majority leader, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, any other observation? Yes, Senator Aliro.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I remain Muhammad Adam Aliru. In view of the amendment made in Section 3, I wish to move that the first schedule to clause 3, part A, where we listed all the corporations, be completely so that where we listed all the corporations from 1 up to 39 be expunged. I so move, Mr. President.
Very correct.
No.
Mr. President, I so support.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So all those statutory corporations are hereby expunged from the bill. Please proceed.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, my second amendment is with respect to section 22, contained as clause 17 on page 9. Page 9, clause 17, section 22. Currently, it reads that the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Reps may give to the Director General directives of a general nature with regards to the performance of his function under this Act. And as it is presently written, this contradicts the provision of Section 3, which talks about the Governing Council. Section 3 of the Principal Act, for the avoidance of doubt, is very clear that the President, the Chairman of the Governing Council, shall be the President of the Senate. But if you look at the section that I read on page 9, it says the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Reps may give to the Director General directives of a general nature in order to prevent a conflicting situation. Yes, sir. I propose that the subsection should read as follows. The President of the Senate may give to the Director General in consultation with the Speaker of the House of Reps directives of a general nature with regards to the performance of his function under this Act. I so propose, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the amendment ably moved by the Senate leader, that the President of the Senate, in consultation with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, may give to the Director General directives of a general nature with regards to the performance of his functions under this Act. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion and the amendment has been made and seconded. Those who are in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And distinguished colleagues, those in support that the long title stand part of the bill as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate leader. You may wish to move a motion for us to revert to plenary to report progress.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. I stand to move that the Senate revert to plenary to enable the chairman report progress. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this August Assembly do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Those who are in support of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we revert to plenary to report progress. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Act Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 4 as recommended, clause 5 as recommended, as amended, clauses 6 to 7 as recommended, clause 8 as amended, clause 9 to 12 as recommended, clause 13 as amended, clauses 14 as recommended, clause 15 as amended, clause 16 as recommended, clause 17 as amended, clauses 18 to 23 as recommended, and clause schedule 1 as amended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes. The clerk of the Senate, leader of the Senate, if you may now wish to move a motion that this bill be read a third time.
Thank you, Mr. President, for always making my job easier. I move that the bill be now read the third time. I so move.
The minority leader, you may wish to second the motion that the bill be read a third time as amended.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the bill be read the third time as amended. I so second.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Act, number 11 of 2022, to change the name to National Assembly Library and Resource Center, provide for additional source of funding for the center, eliminate the ambiguity in the chairmanship position of the Governing Council, streamline the functions of the Governing Council and the Office of the Director General, and to provide for the application of the funds of the center to set up the National Assembly Museum and for related matters, 2024, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Act number 11 of 2022 to change the name to National Assembly Library and Resource Center, provide for additional source of funds for the center, eliminate the ambiguity in the chairmanship position of the Governing Council, streamline the functions of the Governing Council and the Office of the Director General, and to provide for the application of the funds of the center to set up the National Assembly Museum and for related matters 2024. Third reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Act number 11 of 2022 to change the name to National Assembly Library and Resource Center, provide for additional source of funds for the center, eliminate the ambiguity in the chairmanship position of the Governing Council, streamline the functions of the Governing Council and the Office of the Director General, and provide for the application of the funds to the center to set up the National Assembly Museum and for related matters 2024, third reading taken and passed. Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, we have two more items on the order paper. However, we have 11 different committee meetings scheduled for this afternoon, and people, heads of agencies and different people from all walks of life are within the National Assembly complex in our various committee and hearing rooms. In view of this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I move that we step down other items on the order paper for today, while I would just most respectfully invite the President himself to adjourn the Senate till the next legislative day. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I want to second the motion that, in view of the mood of the Senate, that the Senate do adjourn till tomorrow. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved that we step down all the other items on the other paper, just 2 items, to enable colleagues to move over to attend to committee sittings. And that motion has been seconded by the minority leader. So I put the question. Those in support that we step down just the 2 remaining items to enable us attend to committee sittings, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Accordingly, the Senate is hereby adjourned to the 7th day of March 2024 at 11 a.m. prompt.